No intro then. You don't need an intro. Dovid doesn't need an intro.
All right. So on short notice, just excuse me that if I skip around, and we'll try to make everything fit together. And as Mati just mentioned, today was the yard to the Ladies Benda. And I was Zeichet Rav Avram Moshe Wasilski to give shiurim at Breslov in Flatbush. He's Thursday night for many years, and he was a very close talmid of Levi Yitzchak, and he told us over numerous things from him, and personal stories with him, and different mitzvahs that happened, and different ways he explained things in Likutei Moharan. And today was the year to Shlomo Kalina, who was a talmid of Rebbe Baruchel, and a talmid of course the Rebbe Gadol. And for me, he's one of the tzaddikim for me. Is just one teaching is life changing. He says the biggest yitzhara is that a yid forgets he's a ben melech. So I think the Rebbe actually explains that in detail in the story. The ben melech, I don't know if that's the ben melech and the ben shefcher, or the exchange children, or whatever it's called, where he goes into detail in Likutei Halachos, and one of the Likutei Halachos, I think Pinchos that goes into detail explaining that story. That I met a yid in Bashinas after the Pesikim, and he came from Eretz Yisrael, and he told me, "Oh, you have to learn this Torah," and it happened to be this explaining that Torah. So, and of course tonight is the Ramak and Rav Koenig. I know your father was very close with it.
Talmud.
So of course when Rabbi Wasilski pointed out to me that the first printing of Likutei Moharan has a remez from Pinchos. Pinchos I think Hinene Noisim Loi Brisi Shalom. It takes some of the letters there, and it shows how it's gematria of Tov Kuf. What was the year? It was Tov Kuf Samaches. There. So Siyata Shmaya, interesting. Pinchos ben Elazar is also Tov Kuf Samaches. Tov Kuf Samaches is and of course it's Indian and Bris, and that's the year that Likutei Moharan was first printed. So I guess just going back a week, Bilam from Torah Lamed Vav, the Rebbe says that we all know that Moshe Rabbeinu, of course, was such a great Navi, and the guy said if we would have someone that would have a prophecy like Moshe Rabbeinu, maybe it would be okay. And he said, okay, really? And he sent them a Bilam, who, of course, was the big Russian that he was. So he says that Moshe Rabbeinu is Gemachi Taryag. He said Bilam is the klipa keneged the Torah. It has a Beis and a Lamed, the first and last letter of the Torah, and then there's the Ayin Panim of the Torah, and then the end a Mem, the 40 days that the Torah was accepted. That Moshe Rabbeinu was up in Shemayim getting the Torah. So that's Bilam. That's the klipa against Moshe Rabbeinu. So I start off mentioning about the Ben Melech. So interesting, Bilam is Gemachi Ben Melech. So what's the connection? So Bilam we know is Lavan. Either he was the Anikel Lavan or the Gilgal Lavan, or whatever the case was. Lavan is Loi Ben. Lavan's the one who wanted to tell us that we're not a Ben. And he went with when he went to go chase after Yaakov Avinu. Of course, they met in Galilee, and he wanted to, and of course, looked to Avonim. He gathered Avonim. When Rashi in Vayechi says Evan is Av Ben, so Avonim is Av Ben. Yaakov is trying to bring together the concept of that we're Banim to the Rebbeinu Shalom, that we're children, and he wanted to prevent it. It says Arami Oived Avi. So I wanted to say it could mean Arami Oived Avi. He wants us to forget that Avi, to forget our father, that we're mamash, we're children of the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's interesting, Arami is the same letters as Meir. Where Meir says in Kedushin Lamed Vav, Ben Kach Ben Kach Tekron Banim. Rav Yehuda says that when we act like Banim, we're Banim, when we don't, we're not. Or Meir says Ben Kach Tekron Banim. And the Rashba has two tshuvas that says that even though usually the Gemara in Eruvin says we don't pass like Rameir against, we don't pass like Rameir against Rabbi Yehuda, over here we do. And then other Svarim bring many different reasons. And I think I mentioned it in the past, but that's my favorite Gemara, Kedushin Lamed Vav. That's maybe it's Kol Yaakov. right? Koil is Rosh Tevis Kedushin Lamed Vav, so maybe that's still what we need to remember. Even if we, because Rav Meir brings 4 psukim showing how we're called banim. He says even banim mashchisim, which Rashi says means even chas v'shalom meaning of Avodah Zarah, is still called banim. So I think I mentioned this here before, but so of course I want to say that the whole Azamra is in that Gemara. I'm not going to go through it now, but if in that Gemara you could see Azamra, because you see Rabbi Yehuda says we're not banim, so Rabbi Yehuda didn't know all these psukim that Rav Meir brings. So you could say that it says banim mashchisim, that's not a ben. But Rav Meir is chayish lamiyat always. So Rav Meir says chayish lamiyat. So you look at the banim. You have that concept of banim, and also the Rebbe says in Tinya, I think it's Tinyana Yud, where it says that a person should think that just if you can't find the good points, he should just be happy that he's from Zera Yisrael, and that just by knowing you're from Zera Yisrael, that's already you can bring yourself to tshuva by bringing out that good point. So of course, Rav Meir is chayish l'miyut. He's the one who says chayish l'miyut. So he's the one that says ben kach hatin kurim banim. So I was just thinking today. I was learning. I forgot what Torah was this morning in Tinyana Chaf. Maybe it was. We talks about how you mispa b'nei Yisrael kachal hayam. I think kachal hayam is gematria miyut. Is gematria ma'at 119. So I'm thinking Vahaya Lashon Simcha, Mispa B'nei Yisrael Kachal Yom, to add up Mispa B'nei Yisrael Kachal Yom. How do you? All the Kachal Yom is a lot, but how by Mamat, by every little thing you add up, you build like it teaches on a Zamra. That's Pshat there, and that's the Haftarah that we read right before Shavuos. Parshat Bamidbar. That's Haftarah, which. And that's one of the psukim that Rav Meir brings. It ends off with Hayim Esvah B'nei Yisrael, and it ends off with B'nei Kal Chai, which is the pasuk saying that we're going to do tshuva. That in the end we're all going to come to tshuva. So I want to say, I've heard Rav Olson speak about this many times. That before the Bein HaMetzarim, we start off with Parshas Bilam, which Parshas Balak, which talks about Bilam and all these Yanim. He was trying to prevent Dovid Melech from coming into the world. We know he didn't want Dovid Melech, because Dovid Melech is the Melech, is the Melech. But besides Dovid Melech, I just heard from Rabbi Zuk in Eretz Yisrael recently. He said we're called Yehudim. So we say Yehudim because we think. He said Pashad also we're called Yehudim because we're all Malchus, we're all Malachim, all Bnei Malachim. And Rosh Vayichai says. Kol Yisrael B'nei Malachim. He paskins that on Kuf Yud Aleph. It's easy to remember. Kuf Yud Aleph Amiloi. And Shabbos, he says that all the Klal Yisrael is considered Malachim. So interesting that in the Sefer Shem Shleimer brings, I think from one of the Lechoviches, he says that the day of Chav Beis Tammuz, the Yartzeh Rosh Hashanah Kalina, he says always falls out the same day as Lag Ba'ima, and it says Bechinas Lag Ba'ima. And if I remember correctly, he says that he holds that you could say a Shechianu, it's like Lag Ba'ima, and even though there's a Veilus all of the 3 weeks, that you can say a Shechianu on this day because it's such a big day. Interestingly, Rav Shlomo Kalina was nifta in the year Tavkov Nun Beis, which is Gematria Shimon ben Yochai, without the Aleph. So, and he's the one that says we're Ben Melech. He's the one that says that the biggest Yetzer is Yid forgets he's a Ben Melech. So he's the one that says that, and Rav Shimon Yochai is the one that says that we're Bnei Malachim. So that's a connection there. And personally, I find this as a big chizik. Over the years, just by thinking that it's a real thing that we're Malchus. But how we Malchus? Through the Torah, of course. So through the Torah, so the Bein HaMetzarim, this is farm bring. Much of it's the Bnei Yisoscha says that there's 21 days of Bein HaMetzarim. So there's a in Becharis Daf Ches, there's a marsha there that says, it talks about eggs. At the time, it takes 21 days for an egg to hatch. So the marsha there says it's 21. Oh, because it talks about a black egg and a white egg. It's one of those stories that the Rebbe has Torah on in somewhere at the beginning of Likutei Moharan. But he says the marsha says that there's 21 days of Bein HaMetzarim, which are dark days, connected to 21 days from Rosh Hashanah through Hoshana Rabbah. So the Mizrach Maggid goes, I'm assuming based on this, that he talks about the 21 days of Bein Mitzarim, and he says, whoever chases, whoever chases the Rebbeinu Shalom, Hisigua, he doesn't say it, but I'm assuming it means Hisigua, Hisig Vav K. If you chase the Yud K, you can put the Vav K back together, and make the Yikra name, Bein Mitzarim. So in this time of Bein Mitzarim, you can get close to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And he says, somebody goes, the marshal of the king that goes out of the palace. And he goes out of the palace, and you meet him in the hotel, you could maybe get some shaykhs. You could go meet him, and now when he's back in the palace, you'll be able to have shaykhs to him in some way. So then, during the days of Rosh Hashanah, starts to make tshuva, try to get close to now, try to, in whatever way, then we'll have more of a shaykhs in those days, in those 21 days in Tishrei. So how do we get close? Of course, the Rebbe says, I think it's Sichas Haran, I think it's Eish, right? Sichas Haran 301, I think, that he says that the main avoid of a year is Tikkun Chatzos. He says, if you don't get Tikkun Chatzos, at least get up early in the day, before daybreak. So we know that the Mishnah Berurah even brings from the Arizal to say, during the day, to say Tikkun Chatzos during Bein Mitzarim, Tikkun Rachel. That's what the Kaf HaChaim brings, the Tikkun Rachel, what it means. And I just want to throw in, a few years ago, I had, I guess, a light bulb moment went off on Tisha B'Av, because I was thinking, we have all these, Rav Gamliel talks about it in a Sefer, Rav Gamliel Rabbanovitz. He talks about you have all this morning. Shulchan Aruch says you can't take this, you can't take during the 9 days, you can't take showers, and you can't do laundry, you can't make chasnas, of course, during the whole Bein HaMitzarim. On the other hand, he says all the Chassidus from talk about how close you can get to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So he says they're both correct. He says those things that says in Shulchan Aruch, that you have to do. When it comes to certain Rebbeinu Shalom, there always has to be the Simcha. That you always have to do. And so I'm sitting there on Tisha B'Av, and I was thinking to myself, okay, it's all very nice, but let's be honest. The Rebbeinu Shalom knows what I'm thinking. I just want the day to be over, and I want to just have a cold glass of seltzer, that's what versus cold seltzer, right? That's what I really want to do. So I started thinking today, but on the other hand, and then I think it's simple. I just think that the more we in some way try to understand what it means that the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't have houses. Rav Gamliel says the Eibusha hat nicht kein Stieb. That's his big line. He said we all have houses, we all have places to live, and the Eibusha doesn't have a house. So I was thinking that the more we could try to internalize in some way, everybody on their own level, that Mamash said it's a real thing, because we know all the tzaros that we have, all the Sfarim talk about, the Degel always speaks about it, all the tzaros we have only because of Galus HaShechina, and the Nafshi talks about it. So the more we could recognize that the Rebbeinu Shalom really, that there is real pain there, the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't have a house, all that the more we can lessen our own physical pain, because until we know that, we're just going to have more and more tzaros. It's just not so for me to help me get through Tisha B'Av, because it became from okay, well, I'm going to fake it, you can't fool the Rebbeinu Shalom, but so actually, on my own, not that I have any great kavanas, but Kenever Pinchos says when you're sitting on the floor, you could mamish be poiled the Yeshua in every aspect. So I'm going to sit on the floor and just say, okay, I need A, B, C, and D, and I'm going to say, okay, my father Kaviyachal is homeless. So Mustama, what he means is this: that to feel the Rebbeinu Shalom playing in whatever way we can on our own level, which obviously one way to do is through Tikkun Chatzos, and of course in Tinyana Samach Zayin, of course the Rebbe talks about Bereshis Leina Kol Yisrael, about that we should think that maybe I'm a Gilgal of someone that caused the Churban back then, and of course not use that in a depressing way, but in a positive way, to see, okay, how could I be mistaken that, and on a Pashut level, so to get back, I was saying that the 21 days, as far as bring, I connected the letters of the Torah. There were 21 letters on the first luchos. The first luchos didn't have a test. So the Gemara says that it's the toiv could never be destroyed permanently, because there was no test on the first luchos, only on the second luchos. So that prevented the toiv from being lost, whatever that means. So that's, and this I believe is in the Bnei Yissaschar. Says that's why Shavas B'Tammuz is Toiv, is the day of Toiv, and I believe the Aptarov says that Tisha B'Av is Tess, because that's the test, even in the darkest day, is that Chizik, the Hashem saying it's a test, it's a test which stands for Toiv, that has the Koyach to it's going to be a Yontiv, it's going to be a Mayid. So I was thinking, okay, so now Lamaisa, so now we have all these letters, these are the letters of the Torah. So getting back to Lavan, so honestly, maybe Lavan could also stand for Lamed Beis Nesivas, Lamed Beis Nesivas Chachma, and the Aramea brings the Wolf Shitama that he when he chased after Lavan, that when Lavan chased after Yaakov, really, in Pneumius it said he had left some nitzotzes, or some sort of letters of the Torah, something back then. He was coming to give it to Yaakov, so whatever that means. That so I was thinking, so this is a time that we should try to increase in learning Torah, right? Because Bein Mitzarim, so the Zerah Kodesh, the Rav Shisa says that Mitzrayim, he said Pari was the Rapeh, and he wanted to prevent Torah Shabbat Peh, whatever that means in Pnimi. He didn't want them to go get the Torah, right? So he brings the Mitzrayim, said the Bein Mitzrayim is the first word of Brachas, and we end with Bashalim, and regular Mem, and the Mem, and the Yates, and in the middle is the Yates that doesn't want us to finish Shas. He said that's Mitzrayim. Mem with the Yates in the middle and the Mem. That's what the Rav Shisa says in Parshas Boi. So I was thinking, say Bein Mitzarim is the same Oisius. Mitzarim is the same Indian. So in the Bein Mitzarim, we know it's an Indian to make siyum. And the Shai Yisrael brings that the Talmid Hashem used to be, they didn't care to eat meat all year long, and all of a sudden they're busy making siyum during the 9 days, because he says siyum samach mem alef lam, it stands for siyum mesechta ein lasos. So, but whatever it is, we see learning. This is a time to increase learning, limit Torah in whatever way. We see that we started off with Bilam. Bein Mitzarim starts off with Bilam, who's the klipa against Torah Shabbat Peh, and Bilam went and caused them to be Mizana, right? And then so we know that the Zimri came back, and the Ramam panel brings came back as a Gilgal as Rabbi Akiva. So really, so Rabbi Akiva was Seit Torah Shabbat Peh. Rabbi Tzaddik talks about it all the time. Rabbi Akiva also getting back is the one that says that we're Ben Melech on the Baba Basra Yud. He argues with Tunis Rufus. Tunis Rufus Arasha says you're not allowed to give tzedakah because if a king throws his evidence into jail and you're going to go feed him now, the king's going to be angry at you. Rabbi Akiva said, I'll give you a better marshal. If the king throws his son into jail and now he did something bad and now you're going to feed him, he's going to be happy. He doesn't want his son to die. So see, Rabbi Akiva says that we're Ben Melech, and Rabbi Akiva is the one that says Avinu Malkeinu. The Gemara in Tana says that no one's answered, and Rabbi Akiva came and said Avinu Malkeinu ein lanu melech ela ata. So I want to say, and I heard afterwards that it's brought down already, but Pshata ein lanu melech ela ata, because you don't say, we know in yeshiva, you even say you to your Rebbe, right? You get a fraskin upon him, right? You say, what does the Rebbe say, right? Well, here we're saying you, Baruch Ata, Baruch, we know in Matzah Shema Gero, he said Baruch Ata, he said, the fact that you can say Ata, it says, the Moshe Kaprina says, Ki Ata Toy Nevi, the fact that I can say Ata, that lights up my neshama. So I say, Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata. Why could I say Ata? Because he's my father, my tata. So my father, I could say to the king, you. So that's Rabbi Akiva getting, that's Rabbi Akiva who's the Seit Torah Shabbat Peh, and we know all, the Gemara in where is it? Eruvin or Sanhedrin? I forgot. It brings that says that Stam Mishnah like Rameya and Stam and everything. I'll leave it to Rabbi Akiva. This is everything. So all Torah Shabbat Peh is Rabbi Akiva. And actually, Rabbi Akiva, so in Bavli, Rabbi Akiva is written with the Aleph always, and Yerushalmi is written with the Hey. Rabbi Akiva with the Hey is actually Gemachi Baal Peh. So we see the Remes to Rabbi Akiva there. So I guess that's one thing to do to try to. I guess that is the way to really be a Ben. Of course, we're Ben no matter what, but a way to really be a proper Ben. We don't just want to be Ben Mashchis and Chas v'Shalom. We want to be, the Ben sitting in the palace next to the king, with, not just the guy that, like Rabbi Akiva's example, who's thrown into jail and we got food. So the way to connect is, it says Hashivenu Avinu l'Sarasecha. It says, we say in front of us, Hashivenu Avinu l'Sarasecha. We tell Hashem, bring us back to the Torah, which is, of course, Rosh Hashanah is Hashivenu Avinu l'Sarasecha is Leah, which is 36. We know there's 36 Masechtas, basic Masechtas of Shas, and also, like I said, I'll be jumping around, but don't mind me. So in Pei Hey and Tinyana, So the Rebbe says that egois, he says egois takes 21 days to grow, and he says keneged beitza, he says beitza is it takes 21 days to hatch, like I mentioned before, and he said that's why we eat at the end of Erev Tisha B'Av. I mean, not Erev Tisha B'Av I mean, this year it'll be on Shabbos, but usually during the week we have an egg. So he says one of the reasons that the egg is maram is to the end of the 21 days. And then Likutei Halachos, I guess you could look it up. I didn't have a chance to look it up. And Likutei Halachos, Hilchos Beitz Hay, he talks about it. He talks about how it's the connection between the Bein HaMetzarim. So Ayin Sham, because I didn't have time to look it up. But I think he talks about that since it's wide on one side and narrow on the other side. He says we have ups and downs in life, and so I guess that's like the Bein HaMetzarim, the narrow part, and then we go to. So I was thinking today. I don't. Maybe it's stretching a little, but it just hit me thinking about the Beitza and that there's a Gemara in Brachas Daf Chav, which says that they said there. He said the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't says Ashalisa Panav Likach Sheichad. But if say he does give sheikh. It says Yis Hashem Panav Elacha, and it says but Klal Yisrael they say Birchas Hamazon. Really, it says V'achal Tosot Rachta, but they're makbid to eat ad kazayas or ad kabeitza. And so I was thinking Zayas is Rosh Hashanah Yud Zayin Tammuz, and Beitza is 21 days. So maybe it's. So I was always thinking that what's pshat? How do you? Really, it's a daraisa. So how do you really need to be satisfied? So I was thinking the pshat is that that we are satisfied even with a little, even when Rebbeinu Shalom gives us the kazayas kabeya, that we are satisfied. And I believe that explanation is given in Sfarim. So I was thinking that the same idea in the Bein HaMetzarim, that even in a Bein HaMetzarim, in a Yud Zayin Tammuz, that we learn to praise Hashem and to look for whatever little part, any little ma'atoiv in ourselves or just in anything that Rebbeinu Shalom does for us in this time, and that's a way to connect. Of course, the Shivrei Luchos, which it says the Gemara in Avodah Zarah says that Dovid Melech was brought to Ma'aseh Batsheva. It says he wasn't roy because it says that his Yetzer was destroyed, so it didn't make any sense. And it says that it doesn't make sense that we did Chet Egel also. So whatever that means, I don't know. But that's why I find Shivrei Luchos. I find is a big chizuk, because bottom line, even after that, Hashem told Moshe we're going to go make new luchos, and this is concept of tshuva. Even that's why Shivrei is just Rashbi. That's and Rashbi is the one that says Kilois Shacham Mipi Zaroi, and the Rebbe in the Tuf, I don't know if it's Tuf Yud Zayin or what, where he talks about Tammuz. Tammuz is Rosh Hashanah Zikr Toras Moshe, and Zman Matan Torah Seinu without the Vav, because if the first luchos wouldn't have been destroyed, Torah would never be forgotten. But now we have to work on the remembering Torah. So how do we remember Torah? So Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, he's the one that says Kiloi Shacham Pizarei. So Rav Shimon Bar Yochai teaches us how through the Simcha, through all, and of course through the Rebbe's teachings, right? We know that Koich B'Yah brings that if someone was traveling and he was in some city and he stayed in the house of some big Mekubal, and he saw he had a Likutei Moharan there, and he said, "Oh, you know why your Rebbe started off with this Torah? Because it says Nachman ben Simcha, the same Gemara, Hashem ben Yochai." So we say that the Likutei Moharan is teaching us all how to live Rav Shimon Bar Yochai's teaching, how to live the Zohar Kodesh, how to connect to the Torah, how to connect to the Torah, Avodah, the Milas Chasadim, everything through the Likutei Moharan. Sorry, Likutei Moharan is actually Gemara Shimon, so that's another connection there. And I mean I find endless chizuk. I want to suggest there's 21 days. The 22nd day is Tisha B'Av, right? Chav Beis. And the 22nd day on the other side is Hoshana Rabbah, not Hoshana, it's 21st day of Hoshana Rabbah, and then Shmini Atzeres, which is the highlight of the year, the Shmini Atzeres, and of course in Chutz La'aretz Simchas Torah the next day. But so when I say Chav Beis is Benkach, it says Rosh Hashanah Benkach or Benkach, whether this is the the bad part Tisha B'Av, where you're not allowed to learn Torah. And Shmini Atzeres is where every Yid has a chelik in Torah. Where, we all noticed, I think it's the Rav that said he once saw Yid dancing like it was total Amaretz. And he said, what are you dancing for? He said, what do you mean? He said, when my brother makes a chasana, I dance. And so I think he said it's the one person that ever got the better of him. And he said, yeah. So everyone has this connection to Torah, and that's when we start over Bereshis again. We finish Leini Kol Yisrael, Bereshis Bar Elokim is Gematria Kilois Shacham Pizaroi, and Sheshi Barta, which is the last word Rashi brings in Torah. Sheshi Barta is also Gematria Kilois Shacham Pizaroi. In the breaking, we see there that, and that's the whole. So that's why I told someone last week I find Shavi Luch is a big chizik, and he said why, and I started explaining to him, and he didn't, he's a guy who can learn a lot better than me, but I guess he doesn't know the type of, he doesn't know the chizik Torah that the Rebbe gives, like Torah Vav. That's what I want to say. Maybe also it's Maramas. He said you need to put the Vav back in the Talmud. I want to say that the Vav is Torah Vav, because the Torah Vav is the Mesach Shemaim Shamata. Even if you're the biggest tzaddik, Shamata, you still got to go further. That's Yashal, Hinaka. And if you're even in the lowest Yid, it's Yashal, Hinaka. So I want to say Hinaka, if you spell Hinaka with the Endachaf is 500, it's 555. That's Kamachia Bereish Galei. Bereish Galei, it says, B'nai Yishal Yotzim B'yad Ramah, the Degel says, Bereish Galei, Bereish is Rashbi. We're going to go out with the Sefer Zaya. So actually we have in coming up in Matos, we also have Biabrama. It also says they also in Targum Bereish Galei, which comes out right by the Arizal's yard site. It's the same letters there. Yitzchak ben Shlomo. So it's the same thing there. And so the Shayasot, the Munkatra, the Shayasot brings from the Chayza that the three, we know the Apter brings all the whole Bein HaMitzarim is connected, all the Yom Tovim, Rosh Chodesh. The Chayza says the three Shabbos in Bein HaMitzarim are connected to three Yom Tovim. Pesach is Pinchos and Shavuos, Sukkot. I want to say it's Meram is in the Mount of Pesukim. There's 168 Pesukim in Pinchos. Because Pinchos is Eliyahu also, so it makes sense. Eliyahu, of course, Eliyahu, it comes Kosher Eliyahu by the Pesach Seder. 168 is Gemach Kippur Pesach, which is also Rosh Hashanah. Chasal see the Pesach Kil Chasoi, which is that's the Rosh Hashanah. So it's 168 Pesukim in Pinchos. Matas Masei, this is at least in a regular year. Matas Masei has 244 Pesukim, which is Gemach Gemara, and so that's the Indian Torah, and Devarim, which is Keneged Sukkot, has 105 Pesukim, which is Machi Kisukah. Sukkah is usually written without a Vav in Tanakh. So Sukkah is 85, and Chaf Sukkah 105 Pesukim. So that's just my own thing I wanted to throw in. So we see in the dark, I guess all the Baal Shem Tov, all his Talmidim, they all showed us the light in these days, telling us that there's going to be Yom Tov and there's going to be, but then, so again, we have to do, our part, each and our low, I'm talking to myself, so I guess through Torah, that's the biggest way, right, to connect the Torah, the Gvos Chadim, all of that, in the Bein HaMitzarim, in this time, especially when we could learn, and Tisha B'Av is the time when we're not allowed to learn, and I want to say, so the Tes B'Av, we're not allowed to learn. Yeah, the Vav, you get two Bav. Two Bav, of course, the day the Gemara says you have to increase your learning. It says, if not, Chas v'Shalom says that someone's mother's going to bury him if he doesn't increase his Torah learning on two Bav. And Chamisha Bas B'Av, I'm getting ahead of the time, but it all fits into the Chamisha Bas B'Av, the Munkacharov brings also, it's Gemach K'siv Ch'sim Tova. So that's when we start saying K'siv Ch'sim Tova, and of course it's K'siv Ch'sim Tova, it's also Gemach Chai Tishrei. Which is, of course, the Rebbe's yard side, Chai Tishrei. So, and that's the day of Simcha. They said it was that was the day with so much Simcha was the Yom Kippur and Chamisha and Tu B'Av were the days with the most Simcha. The Gemara and the Tana says. So we see Ramazit to the Rebbe also, and that's when we start preparing. That's when we start preparing for what whole time. So,
Just last 15 minutes, or whatever.
okay.
You have to maximize everything.
Yeah. But so there's, so I guess, just I'm reviewing for myself, I guess it's, I guess you have to remember the Churban in whatever way, that is, Tikkun Chasais is a real thing, as you speak, it's right at the beginning of Shulchan Aruch, Tikkun Chasais, I'm sure all the Breslov has here that, I'm sure it's say Tikkun Chasais, I know a lot of people, I take Tikkun Chasais, they look at me like I have 5 heads. I had a son, Baruch Shem, I have a 17-year-old son, and he, I got him a B'tich V'Siddur. He started saying Tikkun Chatzos, and sometimes all these parts of it, and he says he speaks to people. I tell him, what do you mean? He tells them, what do you mean Shulchan Aruch right at the beginning? It's it's no. He says, oh, we're not knowing, to do. So but but it's something. Rav Gamliel says all the time. He yells and come out every shmuz. And he yells at everyone to say Tikkun Chatzos. He says it used to be every city opened up and he started with Tikkun Chatzos, right? You open up a B'ditch and said all the Chassidus, all the old Chassidus Storm, even the new Chassidus Storm, it starts with Tikkun Chatzos. It starts off even in the Siddur Agra. There's Tikkun Chatzos in there. So Gamliel says the Ashkenazim ripped Tikkun Chatzos out of the Siddur. He said every Sfardish in Siddur, he said it starts with Tikkun Chatzos at the beginning. So he always tells everyone, and I know people are, very, push the people that listen to Shmuzim. They say Tikkun Chatzos they say it all the time during the year, they've been Mitzarim, and but I find sometimes, saying it all apart, whatever, something becomes just so rote. I don't even think about what I'm saying, but then I guess it's the Torah saying, yeah, it's so rote. Why are you saying it? It just becomes. Mitzvah Mumalada, but we daven also, right? So I guess we should be zeicha to understand. Oh, actually, one thing I want to mention in Torah Samach Peitas, the Rebbe gives a huge chizuk in this Indian. We know that all the tzaras we have, we know of course it comes from the Galus Hashchina. And he says in the pasuk v'tachasreya ma'at melakim v'chavod v'hada tatreyu. So he says when a person realizes he has missing something in his life, someone's missing, let's say a simple example, someone doesn't have parnasa. You should realize because something, it's an Indian ma'at me'elakim, it's from elakim, because something lacking in the shechina. So a person's down, he doesn't have parnasa or whatever he's missing. But now he should say, the king, the melech is telling me his problems. Imagine the king, whatever, we don't, I guess, I don't know if we have, imagine a king, a real king that everyone respects, right? That he could chop off anyone's head, and anybody's, everyone respects him, and he's going to tell you his problems. So this is what the Rebbe Shalom is telling you. I have this Indian, and by that, he says, based on the way he said, "V'chavid v'hada tatrei." He says by that, he says, "Hainu al yidei kavid v'hada sheish loish hamelech ba'atzmai misapel hachisarin tatrei b'moichin chadashim." So he says, you'll by that it's saying it's a huge chizuk, and I try to think about this, that whenever there's something that I don't like going on, try to think, the Melech's telling me he has a problem, and it's only, and my problem is only because of Gullus, because of there's no Beis Hamikdash. And a story just popped in my head. I heard that I found a big chizuk, which maybe everybody else will. I heard on Matal Chernobyl's Yortzeit, I heard Rabbi Shul Rubenstein. He gives shiurim. He's a close talmid of Ramatal Zilda. So he said over Ma'aseh that I found the big chizuk. He said that Ramatal Chernobyl was very punctual. He would always come into the tish exactly on time. One time he came in late. So he came in late. He said, "Why? What's?" He said he was just Eliyahu. He came to him and said that the Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, I forgot all the names, but the others and the Maskeh Mashiach should come, but since he was the Tzaddik Adar, then he has to be Maskeh. And he said he wasn't Maskeh. So the Triska Magid, one of his sons was sitting there, and there was another chassid there. He tells the Triska Magid, "Why did your father say that?" So he told him, he said, the reason my father did that is because he saw that not everyone was going to make it. Not everyone is zoicha yet to be on a level, and some neshamas are not going to make it if Mashiach comes now. So this chassid sitting there, I imagine was sitting at the tish, next to the Triska Magid. He must have been a chashav yid. He says, "Who cares?" Well, he should have said anyway. So Triska Magid said to him, "And who says you're going to make it? You might be one of the people that aren't going to make it." And so he was quiet. So we always think like all this time, like what do we do? So of course we all have to do and go try to do as much as we can. It's a big chizuk that why is it taking so long? That Hashem wants everyone to come along, right? And every neshama, even I don't want to mention the base manager's names, but even all those names, those yidden that we looked at, mamash, they're like, wherever they are, that Hashem even wants them. They're right. They're chelak hamal. Some of that he wants all those yidden, all them to come back, and so we, so it says Mashiach's born in. I mentioned before about the Zayis and the Beitzah. So I was thinking Zayis is 417 and Beitzah is 107. So together it's 524. So 524 is one of the cheshbonos they give for the Mount of Parakim in Skamachi Talmud Bavli. And the Rakech says it. He says that the Mount of Parakim in Talmud Bavli. And there's different cheshbonos, but he also says 523, 528. So actually, that's what I want to bring the Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael says Mafteach. There's 528 hours in Bein HaMitzarim, which is on Mount of Parakim. So he says there's different cheshbonos, and he brings that because there's really 523 Parakim, but there's 5 other Parakim that aren't really Mishnah. It's like the 6th parak of Pirkei Avos, and then there's a few other Parakim that aren't really Parakim, but we consider Parakim that. So there's 523 and 520 is 2 cheshbonos. So I was thinking Mashiach's born, we know after Chatzos, so 524. If you look, it starts with that's Chatzos right there. 523, 524 is right there. Chatzos, which is Gematria Hamelech Mashiach ben Dovid. So thinking right then, Chatzos when Mashiach is born, is that time. So we should be zeicha to mamash have it right now, to have it before then ever. And all the klai we should all do tshuva. Ba'ava and all our everything turns into mitzvahs and all klai all around the world should do tshuva. We should have Mashiach and we should be zeicha.
Amen. Shkayach. Now we're gonna check all your gematria.